A subquery is a query within a query. Well, what does that mean? Well, let me show you. First of all, I'm going to create a query by coming up here, clicking on the Create tab, go over to the other group and click on Query Design. I'm going to look at the order details here, double click on it so I can add that to my query. And then from the order details table, I want to add the fields order number and product ID. I double clicked on them, added them down below to the grid, so when I click on the Run button, there they are. We've got a total of 108 records with the order number tied to the product ID. Now for the subquery, or a query within this query. Right click and go back to the design view, and all it is coming down here in one of the criteria cells for one of the fields and adding a query code. So you see how that works? That query code is actually within this query, so it's a subquery, a query within a query. So what I want to do here is I want to be able to not only pull in both these fields, of course, but I want to filter it by saying only pull in the product IDs that are tied to a specific category. What category? Well, what products do I have? I'm going to come over here and double click on the products table. There's the product ID 1 through 9, and it's tied to the category. Well, the first one is Tiki Torch, TT. The second one's Fort Tent, FT. Let's just do one on the TT for Tiki Torch, okay? Let me close out of that table so we're back to our query. And I'm going to right click on the criteria cell for the product ID and zoom in, because this is where I'm going to type in my subquery code here. To type in the code, it can be all in lowercase, but I put it in uppercase to give it a little bit more punctuation on certain parts of the syntax. For example, I'm going to type in open parentheses, caps, select, product ID. Now let me type this out and I'll explain it in just a second. From table, or the products table, where, in caps, category ID equals, in quotes, TT, because remember the category ID for Tiki Torch was TT, close quotes, and then close parentheses. Now this is how it works. What I'm saying is that first of all we want the product ID, and then from that field, which is located in the products table, I only want to pull in those products that have the category that equals Tiki Torch. So in other words, only those who purchased Tiki Torch, okay? I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Be sure to hit enter after you enter in any code here, because after it's going to check to make sure that your code's correct. If it isn't, about 9 times out of 10 it'll give you some sort of warning or error. So far so good. Going to go ahead and click on the view button and take a look. There we go. It used to be 108 records, now it's down to 19. It only pulled in the products that were tied to the category TT for Tiki Torch, and the category ID was 1. How do I know? Well, double click on the products table, and there it is, product ID 1. In fact, let me click and drag this over. See, product ID 1 equals Tiki Torch. Close out of that, won't save it. So that's another way, and probably a quicker way, to be able to filter out just those products that are tied to the category TT. Because as you recall in the earlier training videos, when I right click and go to the design view, if I get rid of my query within a query, in other words I come in here and do Shift F2, it's the same as right clicking and zooming as you recall, and I delete that subquery code and I click OK, the other option would be to add the other tables, so I can pull the category field down below and then type in TT for the criteria. So right click up at the top here so I can come down and show my tables. I'll need the orders, let's see, the categories, and also the products, and then close. So now we've got these relationships here, right, where we can actually, looks like we didn't need the orders. I can actually right click and remove that table, but in any case all I have to do is, now that I got the relationship from the fields here, using a codependent or a junction, the products table, to get to the category ID, I can just double click on the category ID down below. And of course when I click the Run button, it's all there, all the TTs, all the FTs, and all the other categories. Go back to the design view and just put down here in criteria where it equals TT and hit enter. Then run it. Now it just pulls in the 19 records. See, it does the same thing, but you may find that using the subquery code might be a lot faster, especially, let me go back to the design view, if you don't want to pull up all these other tables here and have to organize through that. As you can imagine, if you have a huge database and you've got one table that's like got 5 junctions in between you have to connect before you can get to it to actually bring it up, so you can add that field to the grid down below where you can set the criteria for it. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.